Hi, welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm Chief Alan Rodbell with the Scottsdale Police Department. With me is Miss Chris Fasal, our community liaison.
I love the miss part.
Yeah.
Hello.
That means I haven't hit you yet, right?
I know.
You keep missing.
I
So
know.
anyway, so how are you?
I'm good. And
So I'm doing great. We just finished Citizens Academy number 58, which means we've been doing this for almost 28 years. Almost 28
like
years.
That,
wow.
yeah. Lieutenant Legault was the first person I worked for the Citizens Academy. I used to teach when he was teaching, when he was in charge of it. So it's been a long time.
Yeah, but you haven't been there for the whole time.
I taught in.
You taught the original one?
No, not the original
exactly.
one. But when he started,
you're not that old. Okay.
I did. Actually,
Jeez.
I think Chief Coca had something to do with Citizens Academy too, if I not recall.
One of our guests is Chief John Coca, who used to be one of our assistant chiefs and now is now in charge of liquor and licensing, and so for the state. So you were at the original Citizens Academy?
I don't remember being at the original Citizens Academy, but
Okay.
that was a long time ago. But I did help out teaching and assisting, and followed Chris's lead, obviously.
Oh yeah, right.
Don't we all? So anyway, so if that isn't obvious. So we just graduated the class. Next class starts in September.
Yes, September 6th through October 25th.
And applications are.
I already have like 5 on file and 2 more that I was supposed to get in today. So if you're interested, please get it in because it's first come, first serve. And so when I have it, I try to go through it first. Whoever puts their applications in first. And basically, if you send it to me, I'll hold it, and then I will. When I go through the applications in August and do the background checks, then I will notify you by U.S. mail if you are attending or enrolled in the program.
Great, perfect. And the dates are all out there.
Yes.
Okay. So anything else going on? We're getting ready for the summer. Kids are just
Hot
got out of
already.
school.
It started being hot already.
Yeah. And the kids might
a couple weeks.
Just starting to be out on the street a little bit because the lights are on a little later, and so evenings get a little prolonged after dinner. Kids may be outside, and the pools are opening up. So all those safety hints that we keep reminding ourselves about, and yet still have tragedy year after year.
No.
We have to be reminded that just please be careful.
Right, and if we can just save one tragedy, it's worth saying the same thing over and over again, but it only takes a few seconds, and to be very careful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And we've got a great program today.
We do.
We're actually, I think maybe one of the first times you've actually looked at some of the state programs that are here in the state that help support us conduct public safety in our communities, and quite frankly, and we'll talk about the statistics in a second in regard to how many liquor licenses we have in the city and how that works. But when you think about it, we do a lot of entertaining here. We have the entertainment district, of course, but we also got major events,
Correct.
and all those have moving parts. And to be run well, we have to have a really great partnership and working relationship with our state.
And we've done federal partners before with the Secret Service and the FBI and the Marshal's Office and stuff. And again, this is just a continuation of the partnerships that we have within the state and the governor's office on one of many programs, because Know Your Limits is also a governor's program, correct? So I thought it'd be really good just to talk about how we do this and why we do this and what it takes to get liquor licenses, or what we have to do to maintain it and patrol it.
Well, you and Director Coca go back a long ways. Why don't
We
you introduce us?
Chief Coca, who was a deputy chief at Scottsdale for 30 years. I've worked for him as, I think, a sergeant, a lieutenant, a chief. I don't know. I've always been around you somehow, so I welcome so much.
Thank you very much, Chris.
And Brian, I'm so sorry. I never can say your name right.
Amron.
Amron.
Yes.
Brian Amron.
Yep.
He's with our liquor division, our detectives unit. And Bob Levitt, there we go. It's so weird how you get a blank when you look at somebody, but Bob is one of my volunteers and is assigned to the liquor board area, or the detectives that oversee that area. So welcome all and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is really a close partnership and relationship, so thank you guys for being on the program. A lot of people don't understand what is behind the scenes when it comes to putting on a major event or a special event, or even owning and operating a restaurant or a bar that is required to have a liquor license. And then you also have the selling of product out of Circle K's and grocery stores here and pharmacies and everywhere else. So that's quite a bit of responsibility. It's bigger here, I think, in Arizona than it is in a lot of states in how the liquor licensing is controlled.
And you don't really realize how many things they touch. You know,
Right.
you didn't think about the drugstores or the CVS's or the Walgreens and everything. Besides just you would most likely think of like bars or something, but there's a lot more to it than just that.
Right. So welcome everybody. John and I actually, John was here when I got hired in that rank of deputy chief, and we actually worked really well together in the early stages of my career here. Kind of helped me understand the city a little bit and the functioning and who everybody was, and was a great asset and a huge friend. And it's great to have you on the program.
Well, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Now you've been going how many years now? You've been retired?
A little over 3.
Over 3.
Yes.
And your position is an appointment by the governor.
Yes, so I'm appointed by Governor Ducey, and I currently am the director of the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control.
And so what does that entail?
So, in a nutshell, anything related to alcohol, whether you're a producer, whether you are a wholesaler, or whether you're a retailer, you have to be licensed in the state of Arizona, and the ability to get licensed comes through our office. So we actually are the enforcement end for liquor laws or violations of liquor laws. We have a contingent of about 13 police officers. They're duly sworn in the state of Arizona, and then the rest of the admin staff. So it consists of audit, licensing, functions such as that.
So that's not a lot of people considering how big the state is.
Yeah, this is not just for Scottsdale.
No,
this is
yeah,
for the
the
entire state.
Yes.
That's not a lot of folks to do that job, and I suspect Scottsdale eats up a lot of your time because don't we have a reputation of having the most bars per capita?
Well, Scottsdale is a very vibrant and exciting place to come and eat and consume alcoholic beverages. So we spend a good amount of time here, and we have such an excellent working relationship with Detective Amrine and his counterparts. We spend a lot of time here because of the sheer volume of activities that you have here. But we work in concert with our local police partners because we only have so much staff. So we respond to things where they have concerns or issues, or they ask for our help on something specific. So we'll come and assist.
Okay. And your folks attend a lot of the major events that we have in this city as well as other cities.
Right. So we are here on the major events. Specifically, we come for the Phoenix Open. We partner with the Scottsdale Police Department out there at Jackson. The Taste of Scottsdale, a lot of special events, especially on New Year's Eve, things of that, the large scale events we come and assist.
So explain the licensing, because a lot of people don't fully understand that you get a specific license to sell alcohol under certain guidelines, and there's different kinds of licenses. So a restaurant has a license, and a bar may have a different kind of license. Could you guys explain that?
Sure. So there's roughly 21 different types of licenses. I won't go into all of them because they can get, don't want to get in the minutiae, but there's mostly what the public sees as restaurants, bars, and liquor stores. And when I mention liquor stores, I mention things such as large-scale grocery stores, and opposed to the little mom-and-pop corner liquor stores. Those are the main types of licenses that the public interacts with.
Okay. And the difference between a bar and a restaurant? You have to sell a certain amount of food?
Yeah, so there is a specific percentage of food that you have to sell in order to qualify for a restaurant. It is 40% of all of your sales have to be food sales. Okay. Whereas if you have a bar license, you don't have to keep any percentages. There's no quota on your percentage for food.
Okay. Brian, you have a role and responsibility, I guess, of inspecting.
I do.
People that already have licenses.
Yes, sir.
You also do special events.
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
So kind of explain what your role is then.
Sure.
First of all, before you do that,
Yeah.
and I did mention I was going to do this. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All
Folks
right.
at home like to hear about
Yeah,
people who work
absolutely. Detective Brian Amrine. I'm actually assigned to our criminal intelligence unit, and our unit is kind of unique because there's really 3 of us: myself, Detective Miller, and then our volunteer Bob Levitt. What we specifically do, our primary function is anything liquor related. We're going to try to work hand in hand with Department of Liquor, and anybody that is going to do a special event, or if they have a business and they need a liquor license, whether it's for a day or for as long as their business is in the city, we typically will get that from Department of Liquor. We'll review it and make sure it meets all the regulations. We will approve it on the city side, and then it gets sent back to Department of Liquor for final approval. And then from that point in time on, year to year, they have to review their license, make sure they're meeting all the requirements, and we kind of oversee that, give them assistance when they need it, If it was something that needed enforcement, say there was minors going into a business, we typically will work as a team with Department of Liquor to try to fix that problem and get the Lions back into compliance with state. Our primary mission, we're not uniformed, we're plain clothes. It is truly to build a good rapport with all the businesses in the city of Scottsdale to make sure they understand the laws and regulations that the liquor licenses entail, to where they follow it and they're just a good business for the city. Primary function.
Do either one of you know how many liquor licenses there are in our city?
Sure.
Did use a category such as bars, I guess, or restaurants.
Yeah. Do you have the most recent?
Bob, you have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
it's
does.
approximately 785.
785. Okay. And there's a limit on how many certain class licenses the state will actually have, right? Is that correct?
That's correct, Chief. So they are based on per population per county.
Okay.
So there are only so many licenses, we call them quota licenses, per county based on population. So
Okay.
it's a commodity. So
Okay. And I suspect Maricopa is the largest county, right? So
Yes.
certainly you have the majority of them here.
Right.
Okay, I suspect. So, Bob, they threw you the question. You're a volunteer here.
That's
And
correct.
you've been a volunteer how long for us?
For approximately almost 6 years.
Okay. You mind sharing a little bit of your background, how you became a volunteer?
I'm a Scottsdale resident for 17 years now, originally from Chicago. I had law enforcement experience in the suburb that I lived in for 9 years. And then I had my own business and sold our business back in 2002 and moved out here. And originally I got involved with the CPA program, took that, and it was a fabulous program, by the way.
Citizens Academy.
Citizens Academy,
Right.
excuse me.
That's okay. You became a CIPA's member.
Yes,
Yeah.
an alumni.
Alumni.
Yeah, and I got involved in volunteering back shortly after that class, and I originally spent 2 years in our police service and equipment supply section, and then an opportunity came up in our criminal intelligence unit, working with Detective John Miller and Brian Amrine, and so I've been there for the last this month it's 3 years.
And you do have a CPA background and
Yes,
stuff. You have expertise, or kind of some of your expertise in what you did
Yes.
in a real life is based, which helped you to obtain this
Yeah.
position.
So
Thank
this
you,
isn't
Chris.
real life. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering.
Thank you.
It's not real
Your
life.
real life. This is your
Thank you.
volunteer life. I'm
Yeah.
talking about in the part where it makes
Well,
you money. Okay, this
it
doesn't
follows
make you
you
money.
wherever you go. So, yeah, we've also had experience when we've done investigations for money laundering and other things where we interact with federal agencies in our group, where I've assisted in tracking deposits and income and understanding tax returns and
Correct.
accounting records and things like
So
that.
there is
yeah.
an expertise that you have that
Yeah,
places
yeah.
you in there,
Thank
which
you for,
is really
thank you
good.
for mentioning that. That's true.
Where you got paid
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
real world.
Back in the old days.
Yes.
I think one of the things that's most fascinating for me since I've come to Scottsdale, and it's been 16 years already, but is our volunteers really they bring a lot to us in terms of experience and knowledge, and we apply that to whatever jobs are available and necessary and needed.
Correct.
And the work that you're doing clearly is the kind of work that we'd have to assign somebody to do that. And so we don't have the old volunteers of just folding and stuffing envelopes and stamps and addressing things and doing clerical work. Our volunteers are doing real work and and necessary work, as I mentioned before. So thank you for that. And I know you've gone from one gig to another, but you've been here for, you said 6 years?
Yes.
6 years. So
Yes.
thank you so much for all that service. We're very, very proud of our volunteers and very, very appreciative. So getting back to, what is it you do?
I have several responsibilities working with Detective Amrine and Miller in our criminal intelligence unit, which is part of our special investigations section, SPD, Scottsdale Police Department. Sorry. So what I do is I do investigation of liquor license applications, both for businesses that are applying for what we call permanent license, like a restaurant or a bar or a liquor store. I also do investigations for special event liquor licenses, which we have quite a few. And then on a weekly basis, I get a report from our technical services division within the Scottsdale Police Department of all detailed reports, or as we call them, DRs, of arrests that were made in connection with liquor license violations. And in the state of Arizona, we have, it's technically Title IV, but it's commonly known as the Arizona Liquor Law. And part of what I do draws on a pretty in-depth knowledge of knowing what that law is. And so if there are violations, then that gets reported to the Department of Liquor, and they have their own investigators that go out and they pursue it, and they're the ones that actually assess the fines. The other thing that I do on a lesser degree, but still get involved, we do what we call RLIs, which means routine liquor inspection, and we do that as well for people that already are existing licensees.
Now we have in Scottsdale a unique public safety law regarding
Yes.
our downtown area and liquor licenses, and there's a lot of different nuances that. Director, I don't know if you're responsible for any of that in terms of instruction or follow through in terms of our public safety ordinance. Probably not.
We are not.
Okay. So Brian, I know you do a lot of
We
that.
are.
So kind of
Correct.
explain a little bit what that is, because I'm sure citizens have heard about the public safety ordinance.
Sure. I think it's actually very unique because even though Department of Liquor doesn't have a immediate function to help us enforce it, it kind of works in unison with what Department of Liquor's roles and responsibilities are. For example, any business that's in the city of Scottsdale, if they do certain things, like for example, if they check IDs at the front of their business before allowing you to come into the business because they sell liquor and they're trying to keep out anybody that's under the age of 21, for example, that business has to have a public safety plan. The purpose of the public safety plan originally was one thing: safety of the businesses. We wanted everybody that's inside the business to know that they're going to be safe when they go in it. So part of that is making sure that any business that has to have it, they have to have trained security, they have to wear uniforms, they have to be identifiable to patrons that are within their business in the event something happens. And it could be as simple as the power going out. So not being able to find exits, but for example, if they saw Bob and he had a security shirt on, they would then know that he would know what exit to send the person over to. Something as simple as that. So all the businesses, it doesn't matter what you do, if you sell liquor and for example you ID check at the door, or for example you have a DJ, you have to have a public safety plan. When you have to actually get the public safety plan, there's an application that you can get online, pull it down, the business fills it out, they add a bunch of their requirements, like what their security staff is going to wear, where the security is going to be positioned during normal business hours, the layout of the business so you can see where the exits are, and the hours of operation where they're the busiest. So for example, if you look at any of our bars, more than likely, most of them that have public safety plans, they're busy Fridays and Saturday nights from say 9 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning. So at least for those hours, their public safety plan is enforceable, and they have to have a certain amount of security who are uniformed and know the public safety plan. So they've had to read it, know where all the safety functions are for the business, know what to do in the event of an emergency, and also, for example, if their business is set up to only allow persons over the age of 21 in, they have to have the proper enforcement at the entrance to check IDs and know what to do in the event somebody under the age of 21 gets into their business. Which the first thing they're going to do, for example, their public safety plan will tell them, is pull that person aside or call Scottsdale PD to come in and assist them to make sure that they're not violating any of the liquor laws or a city ordinance that's in effect.
And don't you guys do training as well? Who do you guys, you train the security people and stuff? I know they come into the PD at headquarters quite a bit, and you have some big classes. So you're teaching them the liquor laws, and you're teaching them what their responsibility is, what they should do in an emergency, etc.
Yes, and this is a great part because this is where the Department of Liquor is a big helper for Scottsdale PD and the city, because even though they don't have direct ties to enforcing a public safety plan, Department of Liquor does all of the liquor training that's required in the public safety plan. So a lot of times, if it's a manager or security personnel or a waitress or a bartender, they have to get certain training because they're handling liquor. They're going to get that training typically from either a reference that Department of Liquor gives them, or they may go to a class that Department of Liquor is actually hosting. When they get that training, we take that certificate most of the time, and that gets added to our public safety plan to help reinforce that the patrons that are visiting any business have proper staff members that can assist them if they ever need help. That's the ultimate goal, is to give patrons help in case something does happen. And it could be medical. And that's where the training classes that you mentioned kind of come into play, because it's not just Scottsdale PD that's given those. Half of the class is taught by Scottsdale PD. The other half is taught by the fire department. So they're kind of getting two sides of help if they need it. Not only the legal standpoint of how they have to handle liquor, but in the event an emergency happens, they also have the resources to know when to call the fire department, because maybe it's not a police incident, it's more medical, and they can get help there if they need
That's
it.
great.
Yeah. I think we've seen some real improvement as a result of having a public safety plan in our
Great
downtown.
improvement.
Yeah.
Chief, if I just wanted to add
Sure.
one thing to what Brian said. The public safety plan is actually an ordinance that went into effect here in the city of Scottsdale as a result of an act of violence that happened in a liquor licensed establishment. And what's actually happened is that our ordinance has kind of been the tip of the spear and has been emulated in other towns following our model. So,
Yeah, I understand
yeah.
some of the beachfront property, I guess, in California, and some other places have said they're very interested in seeing how we've made some changes in this
Right.
area. And I think there's the issue of people knowing what's expected of them and the accountability. And having at least received the training and the knowledge of what to do, because oftentimes people are hired for these jobs that really have no clear concept of what they're supposed to be doing. They may have some visual idea of what they're supposed to be doing, and sometimes that being heavy-handed. And so this kind of puts everybody on notice and tells them, here's your responsibility, here's what you can do about certain things, including calling us and having us respond.
Over serving, and I'm sure some of these other things,
Absolutely.
Director, that you really need to know. And it's such a transitional position because you've got college kids coming in and doing this stuff, so it's not always somebody like that's been in a job for 35 years, but it's just a very temporary thing. So you're constantly training and things like that, correct?
Right, so you'll find that the vast majority of liquor license holders, they take it upon themselves to get their staff trained. They're responsible owners. They don't want to have any problems and issues, and they really want to follow the liquor law. And so, as Detective Amrine said, the goal is always compliance. However, unfortunately, sometimes people choose not to be compliant, or they do some things such as Bob mentioned, money laundering, things such as that. So, there is occasionally a criminal element related to the owning a liquor license.
And I suspect, I guess, what our common violations are what? Are they over-serving? Is that a common violation that
there's
you
a
deal with?
multitude of violations
do you see
that anywhere from over-serving to underage drinking to fighting and assaults and other types of narcotics and other types of violent acts that happen within a liquor licensed establishment, because fundamental to the Arizona liquor law is that it's all designed so that the customer, the patron, is in a safe environment. And that's really fundamental to the whole thing. So the other extensions of the law really extend from that.
So much of that is how the owners or managers actually react to that and deal with that,
yes.
report that, make sure that doesn't occur. That's a lot of that as opposed to actual violations.
And we all know that when you're drinking, that everybody is thinking very rationally.
Yes.
So we must add that as an element of why we have some of these issues, because we don't know, for some who cannot hold some liquor. And it could be one drink, because some people are cheap drunks, so it could be that. But it's an element that you don't really always know, correct? I mean, you don't know your patrons that are coming in. Just so the businesses are trying to do what's best for everybody. That's the main goal.
Well, the employees are agents of the licensee. So if someone's a bartender, he's an agent of the licensee, who presumably would be the owner of the restaurant, for example. So it's very important that they know the serving quantities that they can serve maximum per patron, and how to handle disruptive situations that do happen, because consuming alcohol can potentially lead to someone losing their faculties and acting irrationally.
I only have a moment left, but what's a common perception of what you all are involved in by the public that you could clarify in a moment?
So I would say any violation of the liquor law is a crime.
Okay.
So it's not always civil in nature, but it is actually a crime.
Okay, that's good. Hey guys, thanks so much for being
Really,
part of the
thank you
program.
for being
Brought
here.
it
That
too
went so
but
fast.
appreciate
There's
it.
so much
Yeah.
information
Thank you so
to
much.
give out there.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Anybody wants to get a hold of you, Director, can get through you the government offices.
Government offices, and we're on our website, Arizona Department of Liquor.
Okay, and for you guys,
Easy, City of Scottsdale's website, or they can always call 480-312-5000. Ask for a liquor detective, and you'll get transferred to one of us.
great. Thank you again.
Thank you
everybody.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, another week, another month.
Another month.
Another month. Okay. Well, thank you guys very much. We'll see you next month, and until then, have a safe summer. Take care. Bye-bye.